You to ask yourself this question. What would you achieve if you had the skills to grow both personally and professionally without any limits? I want you to take your time to think about that. I am Dr. Cheryl Clarke, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a communication coach. And I'm the founder of Speak Your Power Now and a licensed marriage and family therapist and a communication coach, which I help people to find and discover their authentic voice. And in today's show, I'm going to really be talking about three areas that's going to be essential skill for you to make a huge difference in your personal and your professional journey. See, this episode is really about the question that I started off with. What if you can do that? What if you can be unstoppable in your personal and your professional life? Well, I'm going to show you three skills that you need to master this year so you can go ahead and propel yourself forward, no matter where you are in life. I want you to know that you can do it just with a couple of skills. Over the past couple of years before I get started in showing you these things, there has been a lot of changes. See, during COVID, we lost that sense of communication, being able to manage our emotions, and even decision making, making that informed decision making. And we transformed our life on technology, really. And what technology has helped us stay connected, but it also has replaced a lot of the skills that has made a lot of us successful in life beforehand. So this face-to-face interaction that we no longer had in COVID, it really shifted. This shifted the way we communicated. And it shifted us in ways that we had to create new ways to communicate. And also some challenges came with that. And also some opportunities for growth. I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to say that it didn't. But technology has really been a really standing space for us to be able to stay connected, yes. However, but today, as we're going to dive into these three fundamental skills, it's going to help you to thrive in any situation in case if anything like that happens in COVID again. But we got to realize that our life was impacted and there's post-COVID conditions that are happening with us. And it really is happening in three areas. So I'm going to show you the three things that are really going to help you in any situation, how you can begin to powerfully be able to be unstoppable in your personal and your professional goals. So I want you to, if it's your first time here, I want you to get your paper and pen out. I usually help people dive in to whatever they're going to be doing and follow me as we're going to go forth on today. I want you to go ahead and get your paper and pen, your pad, whichever it is that you utilize to help support you when you're moving into this space. All right. So let's get started. So what we're going to be diving in, remember, three master skills that you need essentially for your personal and professional growth. This works hand in hand. So no matter where you are in life, no matter how you're moving in life, these work congruently. They work together. Okay? So let's talk about the first one. The first one is human connection. The power of human connection. Now, connection is important for anything you are doing. Human connection. Now, when I say human connection, the power, I'm the power of human connection. The power of human connection. Now, let's talk about this being the one of the major keys that you need any for professional or personal growth. When I look at human connection and we look at the digital world as it's increasing, the digital space is not going anywhere, it's expanding. So when we are dominated by screens, social media, profiles, everything, everywhere you turn, I'm on a screen right now talking to you. It's a plus. However, some of us have become this primary source of connection. And where it's important for us to understand that genuine connection, I really can't say it too much, because I feel like sometimes it's unfortunate that my profession allows me to sit here, but it's fortunate and unfortunate at times. My therapeutic hour, or 45 minutes technically, when I'm with a client, I delve into real life things, right? And clients that I probably would have never met if it wasn't for this technology, right? So it's a gift, but also it comes with its challenges. It's a unique gift for connections that we haven't had, come COVID like we had, because telehealth was not even approved as it is, and going cross, we can crossing the lines and being approved for different states and things like that. It came with its perks, it came with its benefits. However, it started to shape us in a very profound way. And as we look at this, I want to go back just a little bit. As human beings, social bonds and relationships is necessary. It goes beyond, it defines who we are, it defines the nature, and it makes you feel seen and understood, and ways with digital communication simply cannot replace. So whether you are having a conversation with someone, a friend, you're laughing with a colleague, or you're just, embracing someone with a hug, or, in those moments, that was taken away from us in COVID. So for some of us, we build with this post-COVID behaviors that we have, interacting with others sometimes can be effortless for people. Some people didn't lose that skill. But having the skill is, don't feel like you never can learn this. Because while others may be a thing for them, that they can bond with someone in person, or and with a screen, like I have really good connections. However, it may take someone a little longer to be able to build that connection, and it's okay. In fact, building meaningful connections is something that we develop with practice and over time. And like I mentioned with COVID earlier, when we lost that natural state of everyday social, going to the office and social connections, and suddenly now we're rethinking how we communicate with one another. We're rethinking how we relate to one another. We're rethinking how many times we felt isolated. And for those who found themselves socially challenged before, now that was someone's haven. Like I remember a client saying, "Oh, I'm loving COVID because I get to be by myself in my little cubby hole, and I am good." That was an introvert's gift, to be able to be on their screens, but nobody able to be in their sight, and others really struggled. And sometimes even the introvert needs to have social interaction for their practice. So they'll be able to, when they come out, they'll be able to have those conversations. And even our teenagers are really struggling with the anxiety and depression, and learning, how do we even go into this job market? So much of the alpha generations and the millennials, and not so much the millennials, but I would say the Gen X's. Oh, well, that's my generation. But the other generations are really struggling. The younger generations are struggling with how to begin to communicate, right? And we have to, as adults, we got to really help them bridge that gap of how to even have a leadership mentality, how to even have a conversation in an interview. These are things that we got to begin to move in, teaching our other generation, our younger generations, how to begin to interact, how to begin to move, and sometimes we don't know how to. And we can't blame them. However, we need to teach them. So this is why I'm coming on here, so we can understand the meaning of how to have human connections, even when you're in different generations. And I remember my house of worship, when we were at church, we moved on to a social uh, uh, the technology. We moved on to a platform that it was all virtual. And I even did my dissertation on how we can connect more with emotional intelligence, because in that space we still have to connect with people, but it has to be taught to some it comes naturally. Some people don't realize what people are feeling and may not be able to express it, so we got to look at cues, we got to look at social cues, we got to look at those things online. But when you're face to face, we're able to gauge that better and have a human connection. So I hope you're understanding that what I'm teaching you is how to rebuild and strengthen those connections, and how we communicate those things confidently, and creating that relationship with human connection. And it supports you with those things as you go forth, right? And being able to focus on the human connection is not only to improve your personal life, but it also improves your professional life, because we sometimes in the profession we work in teams. Whether you're online or not, you still have to work in teams, and different personalities are there, and different personalities will show up, and you got to figure out how to deal with that. You got to figure out, what do I do with me in that space? So the first one I want you to look at is your human connection. Are you connecting with people? How are you connecting with people? Whether if it's online or in person, face to face, you got to look at this as, if you want to be successful, you got to learn how to be in a connection with someone. No one, think about if you buy something from someone. Sometimes you need to be connected with them. You need to, sometime when they come into my office, they're like, okay, Cheryl, I like you as a therapist. A lot of my clients say, I want you. You need to duplicate you. If you're going to leave your practice, I need you to duplicate you. Why? Because they got a connection with their therapist. Maybe because I'm a woman of color. Maybe because I look like their auntie. Maybe something that I hit because I'm a solution focused therapist. So I give you solutions. Boom, boom, boom. That works. And we work through that so you could begin to be more successful in whatever you come in with. So the second one is communication. Now, you may say, Cheryl, this is an obvious one, but effective communication you need. So, communication, this is number two. Now, in the communication, it goes back to the human connection. These are going to be all intertwined. You can't have one without the other. They build on each other. And because you may not be aware of it, you kind of, just maybe just mesh them all together. But I want you to be very intentional. So the core of human connection is communication. I would say it's in the middle of the three. It's the balancer. So by you communicating well with others, effectively with others, but it goes beyond just speaking. Communication goes beyond just speaking. I believe it's mastering your emotional regulation. If your emotions, let me write it huge so everybody can understand. Your emotions. If you do not have master over your emotions, if you don't have regulation, you're not going to listen to anyone, you're not going to understand yourself, and you're not going to value anyone. Just not. Because good communication, effective communication, doesn't only help you to begin to succeed professionally and personally, but it also begins to build deeper connections where you feel fulfilled and the other person feel fulfilled. It's a relationship. And when you know your own voice, and when you are rooted in your values and you're rooted in your beliefs and understand how communication works, you'll be able to confidently and authentically speak when you interact with someone. And it'll be more genuine. The only way that you can build human connection is if from a genuine space. If you have reservations about something or someone, it's going to show. So think about your communication when you're often expressing an idea, whether it's in your office or at home with your family, I want you to think about um, an aspect when you're listening. Listening is very important. So let me write down underneath here is listening. And listening right under their emotions is just right underneath is listen to listen. Okay? Under emotional regulation is listening. Not just to others, but to yourself. Sometimes we're not in tune with self. When we get triggered or we are gone. Sometimes when we're triggered, true connection is understanding. It requires us to manage and regulate our own emotions. So understanding this understands that I have my emotions. It may be, and I may be influenced by this interaction that I'm having, and the emotions that I need to regulate becomes essential for what I'm about to say, or how I'm about to react, or how I'm about to interact. See, if emotional regulation is just not about staying calm, let me get that clear. It's about creating a foundation of self awareness of oneself and how do I have empathetic and of how allows me to have an empathetic stance when I'm fully fully present with someone, because at times when we are moving through a tough situation, so let me give you an example. So say you're having a conversation with a close friend or family member or whoever, and this friend is going through a very hard time, and they're struggling and they're sharing all their struggles, and you may be the fixer. I'm just saying because that's who I was, and my profession taught me how to just be. You might naturally want to jump in and give advice. You might naturally want to do this, and I was prone to doing this even with my own children, and my children would say, "Mom, stop therapizing me." They made up a whole word. And I had to learn how to be mom in the moment. I had to learn how to be in a space instead of just taking the moment and giving my advice, but taking the moment and regulate my own emotions, even if I'm anxious, even if I want to say something, and actually be with them, because that helps you to begin to move with them. Maybe they may be overwhelmed, and maybe it may be triggering for you. So in the moment in their story, be with their story. And even if you're not able, you find yourself getting triggered, you tell them to take care of yourself in the moment. Say, can you give me one moment? That was heavy for me. That's taking care of yourself. And then actually saying, like you're saying to the person, I hear you. Wow. Because in that moment, you have to process. And then you say, continue. If you're able to do that. And this is where my pies method comes in. If you never heard of my pies method, it's just what it is. Pies. And it's so simple. It's a simple pies method. The P is for pause. So in this moment, you're hearing something. You're going to take a moment before you say anything. You're going to pause. So you're going to pause in this moment because sometimes that story may have taken you somewhere and you're no longer present. For example, I always tell the story when I talk about the pies method. I said, for example, someone left my office, and this is just hypothetically, and they go out and they witness a car accident. And the officer comes running over to them and says, Sir, ma'am, what did you see? And the person said, Well, I started crying. I saw the fiery red engine car hit the midnight blue car, and it smashed into to the pole. And last year that same type of car hit me, and I have a scar on my leg. And you want to see my scar? So in the moment, you're not helping the officer. In the moment, you're triggered. In the moment, you're not even present with the accident. So in the moment, if you find yourself triggered by any story or anything that happens, got to take that pause. And then you got to identify. The I is for identify and inventory. So I'm going to say inventory and identify. There's two that you got to do. And I'm going to say that. Now, what do you do here, Cheryl? You got to name the emotion. Once you are going to inventory, you got to identify. I'm feeling, and I mean the body things that are happening. I'm getting sweaty. I'm crying. My heart is palpitating. All of that, inventory it. You may be having a panic attack. You may be sweating. You may be, maybe passed out, whatever it is. I may be angry. In the moment, inventory it. I even say sometimes write it down because it gets you in a space where you can understand it better and process you. Remember, you're processing you in the moment. And what are you actually experiencing? Because now you're becoming present and one with self. And after you begin to do that, then you can actually see that I can identify that I may not be present and I need to take care of myself. After I pause and breathe and I take a breath and take this breath and I'm breathing because in the breathing you need to inventory. So you get your oxygen back to your brain and start coming back. And the E is explore to evaluate. Explore. Now, what am I exploring? I'm exploring what triggers that may have triggered it. It may have been the accident. It may have been the story. It may have been that. Then you got to evaluate, and this is where you're going to ask yourself why. When you evaluate, you're going to ask yourself why. You're going to ask yourself, why did I get this? Why did that happen to me? So in this, you're going to ask yourself why. Why did this emotion come up? Maybe I'm not fully healed from that. Wow, I didn't think that still was there. Wow, that was very traumatic for me. When you're triggered in a moment, something traumatic has happened for you, trauma just doesn't go away. When someone tells you just get over it, no. Trauma's in your DNA, it crystallizes. It's okay to walk through it. It's not okay to stay there, but it's okay to walk through it. And sometimes you need help with that. That's why therapists are there, coaches are there to walk you through that. And the last one, S, is for solution. And this is like I said, I'm a solution focused therapist. So solutions is my thing. So choosing to be healthy is that now I need to realize that what are my goals to move through this? How do I move through this story? How do I move through this circumstance? How do I move through this day? And when you're moving through this gives you the opportunity to figure out what solutions I need to put in place to move forward. And sometimes these emotions are difficult. But as you learn, excuse me, as you learn how to begin to pause, focus on your breathing, ground yourself, and allowing your own feelings to begin to get regulated. Allowing yourself to listen to yourself and listen with an open heart to that friend and fully be present in the moment. Because once you realize that what you need in the moment and you inventory that, you'll be able to respond instead of react. And that's really takes practice. And this is why I'm here for you, because I'm able to really, a big part of it is with emotional regulation. That genuine connection is you're able to show up in a space where there's no conditions there. And in a way, when you communicate, when you have your emotions regulated, then you'll be able to build trust, deepen that relationship, strengthen the bonds, and give support when life goes up and when it goes down. And a big part of that, let me tell you a big part of this communication piece. Listen with no judgment. No judgment. No judgment. So many of us want to judge the situation. No judgment. No judgment. No judgment at all. So when you are communicating, I want you to recognize that there's no judgment. No judgment. And that's a big part of communication. When you try to judge something, then that means that the experience is you lessen it. I don't want you to truly having value for other people means that I'm invested in their experience. If you didn't want to hear it, then don't entertain it. If you know you're not ready to hear it, then you say, give me a moment. Or can we come back to that conversation? That will be better than not hearing them. Because people like to be heard and understood. Think about you. See, we're better understood when we can be able to respond more empathetically and with patience. And if you're not ready for that conversation, don't have it. Because you're going to have communications that's going to need for your input. And you got to recognize if you are triggered, how you're going to respond. And regulating your emotions altogether allows you to build these lasting connections in a more deeper way. When you have self awareness, when you can have genuine listening, when you could transform the conversation just from a surface part, and then the exchanges you will see will build true moments of human connection. All right, so the last one is network. All right, so this is number three, network. What are you talking about, Cheryl? Well, let's talk about networking a little bit. When we often hear about networking, we thinking about like these formal introductions, maybe your business, you have to have your business card back in the day. But during COVID, we lost much of that natural ability to network, right? Socializing and all that was out the window. And when we was mandated to stay homes and we had limited contact with people. So especially attending events, that was out, right? So we had to find new ways to actually build connections and network because network is part of your professional growth. It's part of it. And we have to rely on now a lot of the digital platforms. Let's be honest. We rely on the TikTok, the social media platforms, the IG, I am on YouTube now, Facebook, all of those those platforms really help to be connectors, right? And when we connect with people, right, in meaningful ways, you can do that on those digital platforms. And I hope I'm coming to you in a in a way that's impactful. And we want to be able to help people. And I believe this is why my platform is here to educate people on how they could communicate and regulate their emotions and be powerful in their communication, be powerful in the world. And I don't want you to look at how you can just take this communication and say, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do." No, you need to be able to balance both the digital world and the face-to-face networking world. And a lot of that was lost. And a lot of us was deeply affected by that personally and professionally. So many people got hooked up, got married, and a lot of divorces happened because we met face to face, but we actually didn't live with people. So actually networking on a professional level, if I may say, it's not just about your professional growth. It's about building a support system, sharing ideas, finding inspiration, feeling like you're part of the community. And when you have these interactions, right? And when these interactions disappeared, so did a part of us that fueled a part of what makes us human and what makes us feel connected. And once you isolate it, it became the reality of you being is heavy, leaving us feeling disconnected. So many of us, went away from our goals, left others has left us, and it's left with a big gaping hole that many of us did not know how to deal with. So just to be in a transparent moment here as a therapist, I felt the impact of COVID as a human connection, with the human connection and socialization. I have my office in Mamaroneck, New York, And I felt very comfortable in my office. I would be connected face to face. I would love seeing my clients. They come in. I found myself, really now like, yes, this is me. And then when COVID hit, I found myself opening up my computer, putting on a nice a shirt, and and pajama bottom, spending 7 and 8 hours a day on a screen conducting telehealth. Now, listen, telehealth was not even really a big thing. It wasn't even approved the way it is now. But I was continuously helping many people during these challenging times. But it was a very different experience. And to be able to replace, there's nothing like you can replace that warmth and connection. Now, I'm not saying I was hugging on my clients or anything like that, but it's a presence when you're face to face with someone. The body language, the energy in the room, it's a thing that's very unspoken. I mean, I still have the way to convey it through a screen, but I was looking at my clients from a space of social distancing, and some of them found it very difficult to bridge the gap. Some of them loved it. But when I shifted the work, I really felt how I needed to really do hone in on how I can support people to genuinely be able to communicate and connect with people. That's why my dissertation was about that. That's why I really said, how can I now bridge emotional intelligence and having people to begin to interact on a personal level, even when there are distancing, social distancing on a social platform, on a technology platform. See, these personal connections for me needed a healing process. And for many of my clients, even for me as a therapist in the same room, brought a bigger depth of interaction because it allowed us to authentically express oneself. But with telehealth, it's an invaluable tool. It was an invaluable tool. It still is an invaluable tool, especially during the pandemic. But we were limited. So I want to ask you today, who is your network? I when I found out that I was isolated and I have even moved further upstate from where my practice was. So I closed down my office, wasn't doing practice like that in office anymore. I was fully full-time um, telehealth. And I joined a community in my local community. It's called Brown Girls Do Network. And from that moment, I said I needed to move in a space where I was able to network with other people. For 7 years, because you got to look at this now. Wow. So COVID was like 5 years ago, at the taping of this particular recording, and looking at how I was not able to really connect outside of just my clients. So on a personal level, I wanted to join a network. So I joined a network with women. And when I got around them, I started to feel energized, inspired, and supported. And not only that, it wasn't just about professional opportunities. It was about more of a connection and being in a powerful space where we can be able to value one another. Surrounding yourself around real people. Yes, there are people out here who want to share something common. Maybe it's a purpose. Maybe it's something more. Maybe it's your children. I don't know what it is. But these meaningful relationships are waiting for you. You want to grow your business? Discover the new opportunities of networking. That's how you grow. That's how you collaborate with people. That's how you get the support you need. Networking in these spaces go well beyond surface. It becomes a source of community. It becomes a source of inspiration, empowerment. So communicating is the space where, yeah, you can learn how to network. And you can even practice your skills there. So returning back to these, and I'm even returning back to some of my in-person sessions. So the rewards that we have, we got to renew the importance of reestablishing those things that connections will build on. And maybe do a hybrid of that. some social gatherings, some in-person gatherings, whatever it may be. But as you look at your life, I want you to reclaim that the face-to-face interactions are okay and allow to reconnect. You may meet somebody online, but then it may lead to you being on one of their panels in person. So as you are now networking socially, I remember meeting someone online from Africa. He was in New York a couple of days ago, and I said, "Oh, you're in New York?" He said, "Yes, I just left, but I'll be back in December. Let's meet." That's what it's all about. It's crucial. It's a step-by-step thing of building trust in the relationship. And if you are, like I said, your personal lives, your professional lives, they are going to build or rebuild a sense of community and belonging. So connecting face to face with you, try it out. Because during your networking, you'll see that it's nothing that you have to really do, but just put yourself out there. It's opportunities waiting for you to build meaningful relationship and sharing with others, right? So as we wrap it up, let me give you 2 actionable steps that you can put in place right now to boost human connection, your communication, and networking. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to turn on a listening challenge. What do you mean? All right, the listening is the one thing this is the tip, and this is what I want you to do. Listen. This is the listening challenge. I want you to practice actively listening in every conversation before you say anything. So for a full day, I want you to practice without planning your response. To respond, that means that if someone's talking, you're going to see what I'm going to say next. Be with them. Just simply be in that space. It shows that you're valuing what people are saying. It shows that I'm really valuing what you're saying. You know how many times we probably try to talk over someone, we don't even realize it? Be with them. Talk to them. I was with someone the other day, a good friend of mine. I saw her and I said, "I am so happy to see you." I held her hand, I hugged her, and she said, "I'm still struggling with the death of my mom." And she says, "But I'm good." She said, "So good to see your face and hear you." And we had a moment, and I said, "Wow." And I texted her the next day, and I said, "It was so good seeing your face and hearing from you. Let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch." And she said, "Thank you. We will." And I'm going to keep my end of the bargain. I didn't say a couple of words. I just listened to her. Sometimes people just need you to listen. They don't always need advice. They don't always need your 2 cents. They just need you to listen. So just listen this week. And the next one is reach out. Network. So next one, the first one is listen. The second one is reach out. So what do you mean by that, Cheryl? It's the reach out exercise. Try reaching out to one person this week, or whether it's an old friend like I did, colleague, or someone you maybe networked with before, or even a community like I connected with the Brown Girls. Send a short little message, a call, something, a small gesture. It goes a long way. Remember, you are maintaining these meaningful connections. I want you to prioritize personalizing and prioritizing human connection. Whether it's through the network, whether it's through your communication, personal or professional. Not only are you going to see that it's going to enhance you this year, not only are you going to see it enhance you professionally and personally, but it's going to give you the opportunity to see where you can grow. And it's going to actually your mental faculties, your mental well-being, your emotions, all of that. Research has actually shown that when people have strong social connections, the rates of depression, anxiety, and stress of loneliness, because that's a lot of what happened in COVID. It's linked to health challenges, diseases. So these small little daily habits, I want you to look and see how you can make it come alive. Create the support system that you may need. Get in contact with me, because this is what we hear and speak. This is what we do here at Speak Your Power Now. We're able to give you the communication skills you need in the moment and reconnect to open the doors of new opportunity. And how about and foster the ones that you have now in the community that you probably ghosted. So let's prioritize these connections with the humans. How many of us that know our neighbors or anything like that? So I want you to give you this opportunity of belonging and really open the door of collaboration and the possibilities that are there for this year for you. All right. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, share, subscribe to the channel. And remember, I always leave you with this point. And remember that sometimes your life is defined by one single moment. Let that moment be today. Have a great one. Until next time.